to the author and facts related to the novel Animal Farm. Now we can see the character list. So this novella Animal Farm has both animals and humans. Okay, first of all we will see the animals. That is Major. Major is an old boar whose speech about the evils perpetrated by humans rouses the animals into rebel. His philosophy concerning the tyranny of man is named animalism by his followers, just like communism. This particular concept about the importance of animals he came to be known as animalism. So he is this particular animal, that is Major, is an old boar, a pig. Okay. He also teaches the song Peace of England to the animals. Orwell based Major on both the German political economist Karl Marx, as we know that Karl Marx is um, the father of Marxian theories or communism. Okay, and the Russian revolutionary leader Vladimir Lenin. So, actually, this Major is a pig, an old boar who represents both Karl Marx, the personalities or the attributes of Karl Marx and Russian revolutionary leader Vladimir Lenin. Okay, Lenin. Marx and Lenin. Now, the second animal is a snowball, again a boar, a pig who becomes one of the rebellion's most valuable leaders. He is intelligent, passionate, and eloquent. After drawing complicated plans for the construction of a windmill, he is chased off of the farm forever by Napoleon's dogs, another character that we are going to see. Napoleon's dogs, and thereafter used as a scapegoat for the animals' troubles. It is based on the personality, that is Leon Trotsky, who was forced to flood from Russia after the revolution during the Stalin era. Okay. Snowball seems to win the loyalty of the other animals and cemented his power, but only to be thrown off. Okay, so this Snowball, the character, the pig, is based on Leon Trotsky. The next one, the more important one, that is Napoleon, again a pig, a boar who with Snowball leads a rebellion against Jones. We'll see who is Jones, that he's a human. After the rebellion's success, he systematically begins to control all aspects of the farm until he is an undisputed tyrant. He is based on George Orwell based this character, this pig Napoleon, based on the personality of Joseph Stalin, the Russian leader, USSR leader Joseph Stalin. Napoleon uses military force, that is his 9 loyal attack dogs. There are 9 loyal attack dogs that he uses, that is military force, to intimidate the other animals and consolidate his power. So it is a totalitarian type of leader. Okay, he is a totalitarian type of leader, a tyrannic tyrant. Okay. Now there is the next one, that is Squealer. Squealer is also a pig, a porker pig who becomes Napoleon's mouthpiece. Throughout the novel, he displays his ability to manipulate the animals' thoughts through the use of hollow yet convincing rhetoric. So, this Squealer is a representation of Russian media. So the Russian media actually sided along with Joseph Stalin and they manipulated the Russian population. So here in this novel, Squealer represents Russian media. He becomes so fat living off the plenty produced by the hardworking animals that he can hardly see out of his eyes. Okay. Now the next one is Boxer. Boxer is a dedicated but dim-witted horse who aids or helps in the building of the windmill in the farm, but is sold to a glue boiler. Glue boiler means a knacker, that is the person who uses animals' bones to produce glues. In order to extract this gelatin kind of substance, they use this animal bones. Okay, so even though he was a dedicated horse, he was later on unfortunately was sold to a glue boiler after collapsing from exhaustion. This Boxer, the horse, the cart house, it is a hardworking cart house horse. It represents the Russian working class population. Okay, So his two mottos are I will work harder and Napoleon is always right. These are the two mottos. Even though he was a really hardworking, very a committed kind of horse. He never understood the manipulations created by the squealer and Napoleon. Okay, so his mottos were I will work harder and Napoleon is always right. He blindly followed Napoleon. Molly. Molly is a vain horse who prefers ribbons and sugar over ideas and rebellion. Okay, so she is eventually lured off the farm with promises of a comfortable life. She is a representation of petite bourgeoisie that fled from Russia a few years after the Russian Revolution. So those people who are not happy with the Russian Revolution, the upper class, rich people, they flooded after the Russian Revolution. They knew that the government is going to take over their money, so they just fled from that place, the Russia. Okay, USSR. So the Moli, this horse, is a representation of that class of people. Now Clover is another horse, that is a motherly horse who silently questions some of Napoleon's decision and tries to help Boxer after he collapses. She often suspects the pigs of violating one or another of the seven commandments. So they have seven commandments, but she repeatedly blames herself for misremembering the commandments. Actually, this Clover, even though she is a horse, a motherly type of horse, she realized the reality that the pigs are, there are lots of animals in that farm, but the pigs are violating the commandments. They are supposed to follow the commandments, but unfortunately some of them were some pigs like Napoleon and Schuller, they were actually they are manipulating the other animals. They never followed the rules. Okay, there are seven commandments that we will see in detail. Now Benjamin is a cynical, pessimistic donkey who continually undercuts the animal's enthusiasm with his cryptic remark, donkeys live a long time. He refuses to feel inspired by the rebellion and firmly believes that the life will remain unpleasant no matter what is in charge. Okay, who is in charge? That is, who this donkey Benjamin. He says that whatever happens, even if the government changes from one to another, that is here the owner of the farm changes from man to human to animal. Even if whatever happens, the thing is that their life is going to be miserable forever. That is his concept. Okay, his attitude. Now, Moses. Moses is a tame raven and sometimes pet of John's, who tells the animal stories about a paradise called Sugar Candy Mountain. So, actually, this Moses is a raven, ഒരു കാക്കയാണ്. That is, he always speaks about Sugar Candy Mountain. Actually, he represents how religion is used to pacify the unhappy, oppressed animals. So, Moses the raven, it always says that after the life, there is a after in the afterlife, all of the animals are going to a paradise that is known as Sugar Candy Mountain, just like heaven, just like the concept of heaven. Even if we suffer here, we should be very patient, because afterlife, in the afterlife, we will get a Sugar Candy Mountain, aka heaven. So this character Moses represents how religion is used to pacify the unhappy, oppressed animals. Okay, now Muriel is a white goat who reads the seven commandments to Clover whenever Clover suspects the pigs of violating their prohibitions. So there are seven things, important commandments, which are considered as the principles that should be followed by the farm animals. Okay, irrespective of any species. But here, as I already mentioned, Clover, the motherly horse, she always suspects other animals uh, of violating or of often doing these kind of things against the commandments. But Muriel is the white goat. who always helps her in order to remember the commandments. Okay. Now Minimus is the poet pig who writes verse about Napoleon and pens the banal patriotic song Animal Farm to replace the earlier idealistic hymn Beast of England. Beast of England was actually written by old major, okay, which old major passes on to the others. Actually old major, the first animal who is a representation of Karl Marx and Lenin. uh, this old major wrote this anthem beasts of England, okay. But later on, as Napoleon got into the power, what happened was that this anthem was discarded, and they this Minimus wrote a new patriotic song, that is Animal Farm. Okay, it replaced the old Beasts of England. Now, Bluebell, Jessie, and Pincher are the three dogs, and the 9 puppies. They had 9 puppies, and actually Napoleon took them in order to educate them. He said that I want these puppies because thus I can educate them. Actually, he raised them, these 9 puppies, to be his guard dogs, and he used them to intimidate other animals in the animal farm. Now the human beings. Mr. Jones, the often drunk owner of Manor Farm. This actually the name of the original name was Manor Farm. Animal Farm. Before the rebellion it was Manor Farm. Later expelled from his land by his own animals. He dies in an inebriate's home after abandoning his hopes to reclaim his farm. So he is an unkind master who indulges himself while his animals lack food. Okay. This Mr. Jones represents Tsar Nicholas II, whom the Russian Revolution ousted. As you know that this during through the Russian Revolution back in 1917, they overthrew the Tsar Nicholas II. So here Mr. Jones represents Tsar Nicholas II, and Mrs. Jones, of course, his wife, John's wife, who flees from the farm when the animals rebel. Now, Mr. Whymper is a solicitor, a lawyer hired by Napoleon to act as an intermediary in animal farms, trading with neighboring farms. His entry into the animal farm community initiates contact between animal farm and human society, alarming the common animals. Okay, so that is Mr. Whymper. He was appointed by Napoleon. Okay, now Mr. Pilkington. Pilkington is the owner of Foxwood, another farm nearby, that is a neighboring neglected farm. He eventually sells some of his land to Napoleon, and in the novel's final scene, toasts to Napoleon's success. Mr. Frederick's bitter enemy. He was Mr. Frederick's, that we will see who is this Mr. Frederick's bitter enemy. He represents the capitalist governments of England and the United States. Back in 1945, during those after this during that Second World War period, we know that Russia had an alliance with England and United States. So they had the capitalist government. George Orwell actually criticizes them as well. Okay, the leaders like Winston Churchill, etc. They are also criticized in this novella. Okay, then Mr. Frederick is an enemy of Pilkington and owner of Pinchfield, another farm. So there are 3 farms, that is this Manor Farm, later on that is the Russia USSR, which represents that is the animals rebelled against Mr. Jones, and they got the they changed the name from Manor Farm to Animal Farm. And then the next one is Foxwood, which is owned by Pilkington, and that is, it represents the capitalist governments of England and the United States. And the next one is that is Pinchfield. Okay, the owner is Frederick, another neighboring farm known for driving hard bargains. Okay, Frederick swindles Napoleon by buying timber from him with counterfeit money, forged money from the bank. He later tries to attack and seize Animal Farm, but is defeated. So you may be you must get an idea about this person, that is Mr. Frederick. It was based on Adolf Hitler, the ruler of Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 1940s. As you know that he tried to invade Russia. Mr. Frederick proves an untrustworthy neighbor. Okay, so these are the important characters that we can see in this novella Animal Farm. Now here we can see here Snowball and Napoleon. At the time of the revolution, we know that, see here, the old major is the old major actually inspires both Snowball and Napoleon to do to rebel against the tyrannical leaders. Okay, that is the John's Tsar Nicholas II. Karl Marx, here the old major is drawn from the personalities of Vladimir Lenin and Karl Marx. That is, as we know that they are the supporter of this communist type of government. And then what happened was that Napoleon actually threw out Snowball. Actually, both Trotsky and this Napoleon, that is Joseph Stalin, they were ardent followers of Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin. But later on, Joseph Stalin seized the power and he drone out Leon Trotsky. He was throughout his lifetime, he was chased by the Russian spies. Okay, now we know that this boxer, the cart horse, hardworking, he is devoted to Napoleon and he represents the Soviet workers, common proletariats. And Squealer, actually he represents this Molotov. Basically, Squealer is the representation of Russian media and he manipulates the masses, the Soviet workers, common people, for Joseph Stalin. And then here we can see that by at the end of the story, we can see that Napoleon has a kind of admiration toward Pilkington, that is Winston Churchill during that time. Okay, that is the capitalist leaders of capitalist governments of England and USA. Now here Frederick is Adolf Hitler. Actually, Frederick cheats Napoleon. Adolf Hitler tried to seize the power. He attacked Russia during the Second World War. Okay, so that is basically the character map of this novella. Now we can see the next one, that is Napoleon, leader of rebellion. Now again he drives out Snowball, leader of rebellion, the two leaders. Now we can see old major is the one who inspires both Napoleon and Snowball. Okay, now both of them leads the battle that drives out Mr. Jones. And we know that here boxer, I will work harder, that is boxer's motto, and Napoleon is always right, as Napoleon has killed boxer even though he was very devoted to Napoleon. Okay, so here this says that Napoleon, that is Stalin, was ready to actually he betrayed the people, common people of Russia, and he sided along with the capitalist uh, interests. Okay, so Squealer is Napoleon's minister of propaganda, as we know the Molotov. Okay, plus the Russian media. Okay, then Frederick is an unscrupulous farmer who tries to do business with Animal Farm. He disliked Jones and Pilkington. Okay, now Pilkington can be considered as the capitalist governments. And there are lots of other animals, that is Clover, Molly, Jessie, Bluebell and Pincher, the three dogs whose pups become Napoleon's guard dogs. Then Benjamin at the donkey. Then Moses, Raven who tells others of Sugar Candy Mountain. Okay, so this is the character map of this novella.